So we can actually glean from all the readings today, some good pointers or directions on how we should be spreading the kingdom and what that really means. When he sends out the 72, well, that's the first thing. He sends them out in pairs. So none of this Lone Ranger stuff. We're part of a community, and we work as a community, smaller and larger within the whole church and in the world. And even at the end where it says, don't rejoice because the spirits are subject to you. It's not that you're hot stuff, no. But because you have been chosen. Your names are written in heaven. The Lord has chosen us, to be Him, spread His kingdom in the world. The other thing is simplicity, of course. Travel light. No sandals, no sack, no money bag. The details differ from one gospel to another, but you get the point. Greet no one along the way. That doesn't mean be rude. It simply means that keep your focus. What are you doing? You're here to spread the gospel and to embody the gospel. And that's the thing. You have to embody it, like lambs amidst wolves. Of course, we have to make sure we're not wolves ourselves. We'll come to that in a minute. So the other thing is, you're among the people. You're not standing apart from the people or higher than the people or, all this clerical nonsense that we get sometimes, as Pope Francis reminds us. Pope Francis says we should have this famous phrase, we should have the smell of the sheep. We're among the people. We're taken from the people. We are still among the people. All of us, not just priests, but all of us who are called to spread the kingdom, we don't leave behind our community and who we are. We embody the kingdom. So we receive hospitality, we eat and drink what is set before us, we stay among them, we cure the sick, we're out in the streets. This is the spirit that so attracted St. Francis, and of course which Pope Francis embodies as well. So we have to be transformed from wolves into sheep, lambs even. And that's really what Paul's talking about in the second reading, and we can interpret it this way, being crucified with Christ. The world is crucified to me, and I am crucified to the world. And the world, of course, does not mean this beautiful creation which God has given us, of which we're part, and as I just said, we're in it, we're among it. We don't try to run away from it. The world in the Johannine sense of what is contrary to God. That's, first of all, not what's out there that we think is contrary to God, but what's in here that's contrary to God. That's the inner transformation that has to take place if we're going to be, lambs and not wolves. And so, as I've said many times, it's not enough to keep the commandments and that's enough. No, we have to embody the new commandments of the new covenant, the new Sinai with the new Moses, which are the Beatitudes. So we have to overcome all the egoism, which we mean by the world or the flesh, and St. Paul's we saw last week, and embody these. Well, it is the kingdom. Poverty of spirit. We just spoke about traveling light, being open to people, caring. That's a continual poverty of spirit, open to how the Spirit guides us. That's the first beatitude that leads to all the others. You have to be able to share people's sorrows. The sorrows of the world. Blessed are they who mourn. You have to be meek. That's a rare one today, in our country and in our church even. Being meek requires a lot of strength to be meek, to be gentle. I am meek and humble of heart, as Jesus says. To hunger and thirst for the justice of the kingdom, but to be merciful. It's pretty rare too. And to be pure of heart in this sense, and to be peacemakers. They will be called children of God, the peacemakers, because God is peaceful. And that's a rare thing as well, is it not? How many people make peace in the church today, or make peace in the country today, or even in our families? Yet that's so crucial and essential. Well, isn't that what Jesus says also in the gospel today? As soon as you go into a house, what do you say? I'm here telling you about the kingdom. No, peace be to this house. Well, we can't give peace to the house if it's not here first, in our own heart. He says it will come back to you if the priestful person isn't out there, but it has to come from you first. Obviously a gift from God, but it has to inhabit us. We have to inhabit the Beatitudes in this sense. To become like lambs and not wolves. I think part of the reason that the Beatitudes have not been emphasized is because they don't appeal to men, right? Wouldn't you say, oh, these are human qualities, there's a divine qualities the Beatitudes embody, but tend to associate mercy and meekness and purity of heart and peacemaking more as feminine qualities. And men don't like that. Men like to be warriors. Look at all the video games. We want to be, all the people who do gun violence in this country, they're all men. All men. So what's going on here? It means that in order to be truly human and truly worthy apostles and credible apostles and even, divine, we have to merge feminine and masculine qualities, whether we're a man or a woman. And of course, psychology reminds us of this too, Carl Jung and others. But great spiritual writers the scriptures remind us. Look at the first reading today. Didn't it strike you this very end of the prophet Isaiah? Where it's quite striking. That you may suck fully of the milk of her comfort and nurse with delight at her abundant breasts. Wow. Sounds like the Song of Songs. It's talking about the New Jerusalem. The bride of God, the New Jerusalem coming down out of heaven in the book of Revelation, the bride of Christ, the church of God, all of us are the church, are this feminine, who nurse and feed and dandle on their knees, and that's part of spreading the gospel. Paul himself, the letter to the Galatians, compares himself to a nursing mother with his children. So if men can't embody the feminine and women the masculine, then we're not fully human and we can't fully embody the gospel. Because this is God too. Did you see how it switches at the very end? It says, as a mother comforts her child, so will I, the Lord, comfort you. So God is feminine too, in case you didn't know. We saw a few weeks ago the divine wisdom, right? We spoke about that in the book of Proverbs, how wisdom in all those languages, Greek, Latin, Hebrew, French, modern, is feminine. But as Paul says to the Corinthians, Christ is the wisdom of God. So Christosophia, as it's been called, Christosophia is beyond gender. Beyond gender. God is beyond gender. We have to embody the source of all qualities associated with human beings, masculine and feminine, and in us as well. So if we're going to be able to do here what Isaiah speaks of, or Paul speaks of to the Galatians, or Jesus embodying, then the divine wisdom embodying, we have to be able to embody all these qualities. So it requires, to be a credible and effective witness to the gospel and preacher of the gospel, we have to be both psychologically and spiritually mature enough to embody all of these qualities of the Beatitudes that are the kingdom of God. They are. If the whole human family embodied the Beatitudes, we'd embody God, Christ, and the Spirit would have completed its work in the world. So let's be clear about what we need to do and how we need to do it. Because there are a lot of false paths, the preachers of the gospel, and how much scandal and how much, detours and how many false, paths there are over the centuries and still today, and still in the church today. So we need to be as clear as possible about the simplicity, the depth, the beauty, the challenge, the privilege of embodying what the kingdom of God really is and spreading it throughout the world.